this morning. We're going to try and cram in 60 ideas in 60 minutes. So I hope you guys have your very best and brightest ideas, or even tips on what not to do, because we've all experienced that just as much. And Joe Michelle from Global Interactive Strategies is going to moderate this and keep us on task and forward to you.
Okay, so I'm going to keep time. And you know what the rules are. You're going to throw out ideas. Crystal is going to be taking notes so that all these ideas are going to get captured. The idea is to try to just throw out things that you've learned in the past year, success stories, things that you learned maybe the hard way that you think other people can benefit from. And at the end of the hour, you can vote. Whoever has the most useful item will win $100. About that. It's as simple as that. So I'm going to be keeping time, and I may try to throw out a little bit more if there's a few ideas. It seems like it's a little more detailed in the 60 seconds. So, what's good for I know there's ideas. Okay. Yeah.
So, I was in a hurricane. Idea number one, become being a hurricane. However, being in that hurricane, and you're going to hear me talk more about this tomorrow, I learned a lot. I was totally unprepared for it. Preparation. Can everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Introduce
yourself.
No, being a hurricane.
Introduce yourself on the website.
Okay, my name is Ned Burke. I'm the publisher of Sheepshead Bites. It is a site in southern Brooklyn. We had Hurricane Sandy hit us. It was one of the pretty badly affected areas that was not covered anywhere else. And we were reporting through the storm, even though most of our readership no longer had power or anything. But I need to keep this to 60 seconds, so we had to actually help lead it. And we also helped rebuild the businesses and get them the resources that they need. And I guess the lesson is that you need to be involved with your community as well, and it will pay back in dividends. And you know, protect them, and they protect you.
Okay, good. 60 seconds. So the lesson is stay involved in your community. When disaster strikes, you're there to help. Who's that? Oh, wait for the mic. I'll hold the timer for the mic.
A problem with online media.
And you are?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Joe Hyde. I'm with San Angelo Live in San Angelo, Texas. And we're just starting this year. And I've already been through every ethical problem that an online media source could be in like a week. But anyway, one of the issues I've found with online media, I worked in the online department for Dallas Morning News, is that there's no publishing schedule like there is for a newspaper. And so what I did, set my company up for, what I tried to do with Dallas Morning News, but I wasn't as successful, was put the online media on the publishing schedule by using email as the driver. Because you publish an email, you send it out, it's just about as close to print workflow as you can get with online media. And what that does for us is all the writers know that their deadline to get stuff in, it's going to make it on the email in the morning, is you got it in by 9 o'clock the previous night. Also, by putting that thing out every morning, it's always there. It becomes a part of people's daily lives, and they don't ever forget you. You're reminding them every day. We publish ours 6 days a week. We don't do Sundays.
Excellent, thank you. I think you're going to have another one to talk about ethics in a minute. Who's that?
So throw this thing.
Go along. I'm Uriah Kaiser with Potomac Local News in Virginia, and one of the best ideas that we've had this year and ever is our philanthropic program, where we partnered with, we're a for-profit, so we chose which nonprofits and which we wanted to partner with. And through a collaboration, we set a percentage of our advertising revenue, which we would give back to that nonprofit. And so it's a win-win. We get the advertisers, the community gets the buy-in, and the nonprofit gets the return. And it's been very popular. Through that, we've been able to launch a new real estate section and use, with the help of 15 nonprofits, help get the word out. The winner, whoever gets the most votes for your favorite nonprofit, will win 30% of, we partner with a loan and title company, and between now and November 4th, that favorite nonprofit, the winning nonprofit, will get 30% of their entire sales between now and November 4th. So it's that philanthropic partnership that's worked very well for us.
Next. Oh, go ahead. That's good.
Raise your hands high so we can see you.
Susan Leathers with Brentwood, Franklin, and Nolensville homepages. When someone texts you and late on the Sunday night says, "Why is our gated community on lockdown?" That's when you call the police chief. And we had a huge story, probably our first story that went national, which was a very horrendous murder, and we expect Nancy Grace to come at any minute. Can you hear me now? And but it just, just follow, be the point person. And because we were in the community, I called the police chief on the cell phone, and we did a manhunt all night. We were there, posting every time there was any news. I was sitting in the office posting it at 10 o'clock. I had a freelancer go out to the Governor's Club where they were not letting people even in to go to their houses. And she was so good. She's now on staff with us. And just, follow the news. And I think that's what we all do, but you just never know. We actually made national news with it for the first time, and one of our reporters was on one of those terrible Dr. Drew shows, and they asked her back the second night, and we said we wouldn't go because credibility is everything, and none of the other panelists were saying anything that was true, and so we said, no, we're not coming back, even though it was, we were telling everybody, hey, we're on national news, but that's just a story.
Okay. Those two lessons there, one is don't go on Dr. Drew.
Yes.
And the other one is follow the news.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm Kelly Gilfillan, I'm Susan's partner. We have 3 online news sites in Middle Tennessee and a marketing arm of the company as well. We have experienced a lot of growth in the last year. When we came last year, we had just started, weeks old, had our second site, and we started the third one in the marketing arm in the last year. And with that growth, we made several hires. This just happened like 4 weeks ago. ADP calls on me and comes in and says, can we do your payroll? He sits down, we start talking, excuse me, and he says, how many employees do you have? And I said, well, we just hired these people, now we have 7. He's like, oh, who does your workers' comp? And we said, we don't have workers' comp. He said, you have more than 5 employees, you have to have workers' comp. And we were like, oh my God. So then we started meeting with other people like ADP just to kind of check out the competition. We started finding out about all the other things that we had to have that we didn't know we had to have. So we now are in the process of hiring an attorney, just putting him on retainer so that we can ask things like that. And there are some good attorneys out there that will do it for just like $300 a month, and they can look over all your contracts, they can help you with your employment contracts, which ours desperately need to be updated. And so I just really pay attention to that business side. The more people you hire, the more, I know we all know, the more responsibilities you have. But keep yourself educated, even if it's just to call in ADP and pretend like you want to do payroll and let them tell you everything you don't know.
And even contracts as a, if you're a one-man shop, you have contracts with your freelancers. There's so many things that we didn't do because we were so busy, and they're hurting us now. So.
Well, I'm going to add a lesson that I heard in that story that's actually not the story that you told. One of the stories of entrepreneurship is don't hire employees unless you really have. So I'm not to criticize the decision you guys made, but there is a principle of startup where you avoid, use contractors as much as you possibly can before you hire an employee. And one of the reasons is that depending on your state, you start tripping over certain trip points that change your business and how you have to conduct your business once you have a certain number of employees. So that's just, there's a sort of another lesson within that story.
I'm going to stand up. My name is Kim Clark, and I'm with NewsHawk from Santa Barbara, California. I just became a partner with Bill McFadden, our publisher, and our executive editor, Tom Bolton, last year. And I knew both of them from years prior when we all worked at the local daily newspaper, the Santa Barbara News Press. So it's kind of great. So now I'm working only on digital. So they brought me on board as VP of Business Development to really help with the sales and marketing efforts. And NewsHawk is in its 6th year, and we do have quite a strong readership, and it has doubled over the last year, which is great. And, you know, news isn't always pleasant, and it's serious. So in terms of marketing and just getting a little bit more awareness in our community about our website, Bill came in one day with a mascot. And I'm going to introduce him. So this is our mascot. This is Scoop NewsHawk. Yeah, I know. We're gonna have to get together and take pictures. So Scoop he's quite the hawk about town. He has his own Facebook page, and I'll tell you, he has way more friends than me, and he acquired them overnight. We take Scoop to every event. He'll be appearing on our Facebook page here at the Lion Summit. And when we go to events, we just introduce him. We ask people to take pictures with him. When I go on client visits, I'll take him with the CEO or whatever right in front of their logo, and then post it. And then if they're Facebookers, then you tag them, and it's just this whole viral networking thing. So Scoop has become so popular that people invite him to all of their events because then they know the press will be there and they know they're going to get some free PR. And it's great with kids. I was at one event and I had a child pose with it and they started walking away with it and I was like, well, let's leave. So anyway, that was our idea and we also talked. So find the mascot and then utilize that.
Hi, I'm Julie Brooks from CapeCodToday.com, based in beautiful Cape Cod, Massachusetts. We've actually been around for 15 years, and my little nugget of advice is to not underestimate the power of social media to drive traffic to your website. Facebook and Twitter, mostly just Facebook, have increased the traffic to Cape Cod Today by 30% in the last 3 years. I'm not going to say it's free because it requires effort, but I've met a number of you already, and a lot of you are in the startup phase, and you're wondering how are people going to find my site. That's how they're going to find your site, through Facebook. And it's not enough to just say, oh, I'm going to make a link to this site, to my story that I just put up on Facebook. That's not how it works. You have to be clever and catchy and entertaining and informative and really create a relationship with your Facebook fans and entice them to click through to the story. I see a lot of media sites that don't do that. They don't put a call to action. It doesn't do any good to just share crop and have a presence on Facebook that Facebook owns that you don't know. That doesn't do any good. You have to get them to click through to your sites and hopefully to your advertisers' websites. So what I've done is my managing editor, Maggie, just is really good at this. She's witty, and our Facebook pages have huge followings. So I would say if you develop that skill, if you can't develop it, get somebody who has. So don't just rely on your reporters making a link. They've got to be really good at it and find somebody who is the best source of free traffic you can get.
Thank you. So the lesson is, don't just use Facebook, use it smart.
Right.
Good morning, I'm David Borex. I do DavidsonNews.net and CorneliusNews.net in North Carolina, north of Charlotte. And I guess one of the things over the past year that I learned and tried to get better at is using events to drive traffic and to build your brand and also to derive some revenues. I know some other folks are probably better at this than I am, but We've sponsored a variety of things in the community, from concerts to election forums during the election season. Right now, we have pretty popular forums to introduce the candidates to our 2 towns that we're in. The most successful event we've done to date, though, and this speaks to what readers want and don't want, they are far more likely to pay for beer than anything else. We did a beer crawl last spring, and we raised about $500 in one Saturday afternoon. We had a limit of 35 people on it, but we walked from bar to bar in our town, which up until the last few years, we didn't have enough bars to do a bar crawl. But now that we do, it seemed like the thing to do. But in any case, it didn't take much to organize it. It generated some revenue, it generated a lot of goodwill for the site, and we're having people ask us every day, when are you going to do it again? So I would say, look for unusual kinds of events that you can use to both build your traffic and also generate a little revenue.
How do you charge for that?
We have an online payment system through our website. We ask people to pay in advance. We also collect it at the door. So, how much did we charge? We charged $35, and we cut a deal with each of the 5 bars to give everybody a beer for $5. So we made quite a bit on each person. So let's see, that was actually, I can't do the math that fast. We made some money on it.
I'm Bill Smith. Oh, Joe, I'm sorry. You want to? Okay. I'm Bill Smith from Evanston now, just up the road here. And what I wanted to mention was that we picked up on an idea this year that a number of other sites have already been doing, which is to ask for voluntary subscriptions from our readers. And it's something that, frankly, I haven't done nearly as well as I should have, but it has already generated a significant amount of revenue for us, and I think if I can play it a little more aggressively, I actually had one of my contributors say, why don't you remind people a few times to contribute? Don't just have the link on the top of the website. And I had done one initial reminder at the very beginning, but I probably need to start doing it like once a month to post a reminder to people that it would be really swell if they contributed to the success of the site. And I think that there's some substantial potential for making that an ancillary source of revenue anyway beyond the ads.
And Bill, what's been your best month so far?
The first month they pushed it. and it's dropped off since, although I just got a sizable contribution last week from somebody who remembered the original pitch and said, where do I forgot then, where can I give now?
So what was that first month, what was the dollar volume you remember?
Oh, we got close to $1,000 that first month.
Okay.
And how many subscribers?
It's not many. It's 10 or 12, that are pitched so
And
far.
other than the warm and fuzzies of supporting local news, is there any give for their take for the subscriber?
Not in a formal sense yet. I mean, I'm working on trying to I have ideas for trying to kind of make them a panel that would be invited to meet occasionally to talk about the news in the neighborhood, and what they'd like to see on the site. Give them first crack at survey of users, and maybe a role in generating the shape of the survey. But a lot of that stuff hasn't happened yet.
Hello, my name is Doug Rainey. I'm the founding editor, chief cook and bottle washer of the Delaware Business Daily. It's as I've learned at this session, a vertical business-to-business online presence. And we started out in January, and it's the key of our operation is actually a hybrid email newsletter. It's actually assembled so it looks like a newspaper page, but not in a conventional sense. It's arranged on a horizontal tablet, on a horizontal format, so you can see it on a tablet or a laptop computer. I'm pleased to report that in the past month, it is starting to generate advertising from people who distrusted buttons, and it's generating some revenue now. I have to warn you that there's a lot of work involved. It's done through InDesign, Adobe InDesign, but And I would like to say I invented it, but I didn't. I'm going to put a plug in for we have two online websites with this feature in Delaware. One of them is Milford Now, community of 10,000 people, and him and his partner are making a very good living off using this approach. And I think people that are serving smaller communities, community publishers, I think this is a great idea.
Okay, so your lesson there is trying out the sort of correctly format that advertisers won't get in that environment.
Yes, they relate to it right away.
Great, thank you.
Hi, I'm Teresa Whipple, and I run 3 online news sites in the suburbs of Seattle, My Evans News, MLT News, and Linwood Today. And I have partnered with one of our local high schools. We cover 4 high schools between our 3 websites to develop an online high school sports streaming service where we actually cover a lot of the high school sporting events with video, and we get sponsors. It's been great. It's been a very good revenue stream for us, but it also has created a tremendous amount of goodwill by partnering with the high school. They have a very strong journalism and broadcast program, and the kids do a lot of the work, and they learn a lot from it, and we've involved the community, and it's really been a lot of fun too, although I never thought I would be still spending my Friday nights at high school football games, but I am. So if anybody wants to check it out, I've got business cards if you want to take a look at the site, but I highly recommend it if you think you can swing it. It's a lot of work, but nobody's really doing it in a meaningful way yet, so I think it's a good thing.
My name is Rick O'Connor, and I publish the Roosevelt Islander Online. And Roosevelt Island is a small island in New York City, in between Manhattan, Queens, and the Queensboro Bridge, and about 12,000 people. I highly recommend using a Twitter feed to get real-time information about your particular community, which you may not be aware of. For instance, there was a Saturday night where I started noticing a lot of tweets regarding a shooting incident on Roosevelt Island, which nothing like that ever happens. So this was midnight Saturday, and I went down and I was able to cover that particular event because I saw it on the Twitter feed. There are many types of incidents which you'll learn about by just following your particular community whenever it's mentioned on Twitter. It's also, if you see something interesting that somebody else had tweeted regarding your community, like a photograph, you contact them and ask them to publish it. It creates a lot of goodwill with that person, and that in the future they'll let you know about other possible stories.
The question on the, how do you know which feeds, which Twitter feeds?
If you do, I just put Roosevelt Island in quotes under a search, and whenever Roosevelt Island is tweeted, I get that.
Okay, so you set up that search, everybody with Roosevelt Island. Thank you.
It's a fun microphone system.
I'm Brian Wheeler with Charlottesville Tomorrow in Central Virginia. And playing off a comment Randy from RJI made yesterday about municipal elections, one of the driving forces behind Charlottesville Tomorrow was covering civic media, producing civic media covering our local elections. There was a dearth of information back in 2005. So my tip is go crazy with local elections. And what we do is we invite the candidates in for an interview, we podcast that interview, we transcribe the interview and post all that information. We cull out of that interview material for a voter guide that we get printed and published, and we mail it first class to every household that's voting in the election. We host candidate forums. So then we also bring all these candidates back together and we podcast those. We've streamed them in the past. We've done the video in the past. This year we're just doing audio because we found nobody was watching the video. But this election cycle, we've expanded to cover school board elections. So we're tracking in total about 18 candidates for this November's election, holding 7 candidate forums, and we're having one of the most competitive election cycles in our community that we've ever had. But we're doing that with partners. So I'll just finish with that point. We're partnering with the newspaper who is printing the voter guide. We're partnering with our All Weekly that's printing the school board voter guide. And we're partnering with our League of Women Voters that's helping with some of the volunteer time to collect candidate bios and that information. Thanks.
So there's an interesting sub-lesson there about co-opetition, about collaborating with your competitors. So Brian may be in an unusual situation, but that's a good takeaway. Thanks.
My name is Ed Kimmick. I'm from Billings, Montana, and my site is lastbestnews.com. I don't have much advice because right now it is only a name. I haven't launched yet. I thought of this idea last spring. I've been with the same daily newspaper for 24 years. Just decided to have some fun at the end of my career. And I thought I'd launch the site within a couple of months. It didn't happen. Then I thought it would be sometime this fall. I still don't have a site. But as I've been advised, I might as well let the paper that will eventually be my competition pay for me to learn how to do this. So I'm trying to stay calm and realize this will come together probably by the end of the year, what I'm shooting for now. So my advice is 2 words: be patient.
So who said this is the end of your career? Anybody here think this is the end of anybody's career? No.
Well, I think it's a retirement. Let's put it that way.
I'm Amy Singh, Corona Del Mar today in Southern California, and this isn't a stroke of genius or anything. It's just something I've been doing on Thanksgiving, which is a CDN Today's Gives Thanks A to Z kind of column, and I did it as a holiday space filler kind of thing the first time, but it really captured kind of the fancy of my community. People really liked it when they were called out. It gave me a chance to kind of do a important person list and just sort of recognize people like the post office guy or the UPS driver, just people in the community that everybody sees every day and deals with, but don't necessarily think to call out our things. So it's just one of those kind of small ideas that I thought I'd throw it out there because I didn't have a genius one.
So I'm Doug Hardy. I'm with Connecticut News Junkie. I've spent most of this year fighting with an agency. I don't know if you guys, a lot of you probably don't do business with agencies very much. You probably go direct. And that is a big part of my recommendation. If you can avoid agencies, avoid them. You may not have that luxury. But essentially, the real lesson that we learned is don't be bum rushed into starting a campaign quickly without a contract because you know the client. Because the client's out of the picture. And what happens is they try to get you on net 60 terms, meaning they'll pay you 60 days after the end of your campaign. And we've been fighting over a significant chunk of money recently, finally resolved it in our favor. And I guess the big lesson is trust your value of your website, because there were plenty of times where I doubted, will we get this money? Will we win if we walk away? So I ended up walking away from 2 different ad buys with the agency on credit hold, essentially, until they paid us. And, after months, the ad campaign started in February. We only just got paid a few weeks ago. And so after several months, it makes you doubt. But trust the value of your site. And if you have to walk away from an ad buy because the terms are terrible, it's risky, but it depends on your financial situation, but do it if you have to.
So Doug, the beginning of the lesson is don't work with agencies if you don't have to. What I'm hearing there is that the relationship you thought you had with the advertiser, but instead it was with an agency that was between you and the advertiser. So whatever relationship you might have had with car dealer or whoever, really didn't exist.
Right, it was an advocacy group. It was a big one, the National Advocacy Group. And they really like our work, but the ad agency is only in it really to place the ads and make money. So I neglected to mention what they do with net 60 terms is they ride the float. They take the money from the client and put it in the bank, and they earn interest. And in this case, it was actually a logistics firm that was hired by the agency. So there was at least two bodies between us, between the client, who is a personal friend, believe it or not. And, so they kick back. And I don't have any evidence of this other than, common sense, but they earn interest. They kick a little bit back to that agency. And they treat the indie publishers, like second-class citizens, whereas at least in Connecticut, if you are doing a TV buy, the money has to be in the bank. You have to actually deposit the money in the bank for them before they'll do anything. But meanwhile, the digital people are on net 60.
Because the TVs have already figured out that lesson.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Dick O'Hare. I'm with Local Media, and Doug, we represent the advertising side. Too hyper-local, you'll hear from us in a couple minutes, but very interesting observations, Doug. I've actually made a career out of calling on ad agencies. I'm a recovering big internet company guy, and everything that Doug says is true. The agency business is actually a really tough business overall. What I would say is the decision is yours to call on agencies or not. It's definitely, I mean, even as big companies, they prefer to go direct to client. But what agencies can actually do is typically they represent multiple clients, number one. And typically, because they're an agency, they tend to have bigger ad budgets. So if you're willing to play their game, quote unquote, or play by some of their rules, and they typically hold the upper hand, you can gain more revenue. So some things to think about as far as getting into that are things like, how many of you guys are selling your own ads? And how many of you guys have other people that are either heads of sales or, okay. So you're all out there, and it's hard. Ad sales is definitely hard, and the adage of local ads are sold, not bought, we're big believers in. A couple things to think about though on the agency side is you could prepare yourself by, number one, doing even a mini sales plan of what you have and the ads that you have to sell. Standardizing your ad units is always a good thing to do. We see most of the sites in the indie space do have standardized ad units. Things like privacy policy. I'm not sure how many of you guys have a privacy policy on your site. So that's something that we're finding we're getting asked forward to see more of in terms of representing independent sites like yours, and because it's a box to check. So anyway, so that's just a couple quick comments. But the agency can have its benefits if you want to play the game.
So the lesson is beware of agencies, but also there's a benefit to working with agencies. So two lessons.
Hi, I'm Randy Boyd. I'm from the Thomas Buzz in Sacramento, California. There's been a lot of coverage this last year about quote-unquote hyper-local failing, not being successful. And one of the lessons that I learned this last year, and is a piece of advice I want to impart on those of you who are just starting this venture, is to not measure your success based on what you see other publishers doing. We're all individuals, you're all covering very specific, unique communities, and the great thing about Lion is that we can glean ideas and use what works for our communities, and don't fall into the trap, especially those who are just starting out, to try to do it all at once. And your success for you and your community may not look the same as your neighboring community and website.
So, lesson there, pay attention to your community, measure success by your own measures. And the beginning point is don't pay too much attention to the national buzz around hyperlocal, because it may not apply. Crystal, how are we doing on time for the voting?
Unfortunately, out of time.
Okay, great.
Come on, put up a poll. Somebody's got an idea here.
Even if you already have one, you can put up another.
I'm John Hootery with Oak Ridge Today, and one of the things I've learned, it kind of goes along with what Doug was saying. I've learned recently that we need to have some kind of policy for non-payment of invoices, and I haven't established that yet, but it's clearly something I need to do. And I'd love to hear any ideas that any of you have, or policies that you have to ensure people are paying in a timely manner, and what you do if they don't pay.
Hi, I'm Julie Brooks from Cape Cod Today. I can answer your question and also just share some new policies that we enacted. In my business, I hired a sales and operations consultant 6 months ago. She ripped apart my numbers, ripped apart my business, looked at everything. And she says, why are you sending people invoices? What other media, can you buy an ad in a local newspaper without prepaying? I said, no. I said, so why are you giving people charities? So that's a good question. So as of October 1st, every single contract that my reps turn in has to be either prepaid in full, or there has to be a credit card with either monthly or quarterly billing on it. In addition, all contracts need to be auto-renew, right? So you don't have to keep going back to the advertiser every year and begging for money. It just gets auto-renewed. They can cancel after a year or after 6 months or whatever the contract period is, but they will keep getting billed, and it says that on the contract. Pretty much your gym membership or Constant Contact, do they come to you and say, gee, do you want to renew it? No, they just hit that credit card. So that's what I'm doing. Sure, some customers that have been advertising for 12 years squawked a little bit that they don't get something in the mail with the stamp on it that says to pay. They squawked and then they paid. So it's reduced my accounts receivable, my collection efforts by a lot, even in the last 6 months. So that's what I would recommend doing. So I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Crystal Knapp from Planet Princeton in New Jersey. The biggest lesson I've learned this year is to don't turn down help from the people in your community who really want to support you. So I've had people come to me, I really want to help you, what can I do? They're always calling, giving feedback about the site. And I've tapped into those people and I've created an advisory board. Those people are really helpful to me. I meet at least one of them for coffee every week. We don't have a lot of formal meetings. I didn't want to add another burden on in that way, so we meet maybe quarterly altogether. But when I meet them for coffee, they help keep me accountable. Like I kept saying I was going to get a responsive design, and one of my members showed me how the site looked on his tablet, and there was too much, there were too many photos and things like that. And every week when he'd see me, he says, how's that coming? And I'm like, oh, I have to see him this week. I have to get this done before, because I can't bear to have him ask me again about that.
I'm Sharon Swanepoel, former patcher and hopefully starting my own. So mine is not as much revenue, since that's not my expertise, it's the engagement. And I had done something for Patch. Unfortunately, it's got lost halfway through, but I was very excited about it. It was doing a calendar, online calendar, that I was going to be issuing in December for 2014 and soliciting engagement. So I had some phenomenal pictures submitted to me from the community. The community voted on which one was going to be for January, February, got to July, August got lost. But hopefully I can do something like that when I start up, to have the community involved in it. Then when you sign up for subscriptions, you get, for the newsletter, you get the online calendar along with it.
And your name is?
Sharon Swanepoel.
From where?
Monroe, Georgia.
That lovely Georgia accent.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm John Bennett from Repost, and my thing would be write 25 headlines. There is actually a great presentation by my friend Adam Mordecai from Upworthy on the web. If you Google write 25 headlines, you'll find that. There's an article that I wrote called You Suck at Headlines, and so do I. We did a statistical analysis of 6 million articles and their first 24-hour traffic, and the headline makes a huge difference, and it's things like 7 to 14 words is the sweet spot. Putting dates in headlines, if it's a future date, will have a significant increase. So putting this year is good, putting next year is better, putting last year is bad. Putting question words in headlines will increase the click-through rate. And in social media, it's all about the headline in the first paragraph, because that's what gets people to click the article. And for so many, headlines are an afterthought, and they shouldn't be.
So your lesson is write 25 headlines and pick the best of the 25?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right, guys, from Southern Local. One of the issues that we had was I was spending so much of my time entering events onto our event calendar, so it just became too much. So I went to our web developer at KPI, and I said, is there any way that people can just click a link and put all the pertinent information, date, time, place, and have everything auto-populate, and we just approve the back end? and it did, so we had that. So most of our events are submitted to us by organizations, community groups, hospitals, whatever, all fun stuff. We also expanded that to submit your own news story. So we get a lot of press releases through there. We pick and choose. We get some, stuff we just simply delete. And we also, and the third thing we have is anonymous tips to your comment box. So anonymous tips, we get those a lot, and that certainly helps us.
All right, hey, my name is Glenn. I'm also with Potomac Local, and I'll recap briefly, inspire your community. So my quick story in under 45 seconds. I'm the executive director for a not-for-profit, and just like in the news industry, not-for-profits have to figure out creative ways to diversify income. So my primary role is to raise money with Potomac Local through a number of campaigns. One of them raised over $48,000 in revenue for that particular charity. So for me, we look at inspire, find people in your community who have different tools and collaborate, because that collaboration can help grow your base and grow your company. But I thank Uriah every day for that 40 grand for a charity.
And I thank Glenn every day for helping us bring that 40 grand.
So, we got a few seconds. How did that build your business?
For me?
Yep.
My business now, I
I feel like I work for Potomac Local now. I'm actually going off to do other things as well for my business. The media is a huge part. I'm the other end user. I'm the person you should be selling ads to. Instead, I wanted to work with Potomac Local to grow ad and revenue together. So it's been nothing but a win-win. So everywhere I go, Potomac Local comes with me, and we make sure we build that into the business model. But it's been very effective. It's very impactful. So again, inspire. Let's say inspire.
So you don't work only with Potomac Local?
No, I do not. No.
Okay. But the lesson seems to be that partnering together and going out and representing a nonprofit and Potomac Local can help grow together.
Well, leveraging the not-for-profit community is a huge benefit for local media. When you look at board involvement, I've heard a lot of great feedback pertaining to creating civic groups or having coffee with people, but just that uniting people for one particular passion, you can change the world. It sounds corny, but it gets done.
And again, we're for profit, so we have the ability to pick and choose who we want to work with, and we work with a wide. Right now, we're working with 15 nonprofits, so we try to have a diverse representation of the community. We have people who ask us all the time, "Can we work with you?" And so we actually do sort of have a waiting list of people who we're going to work with next on our next campaign. Like Glenn said, it certainly gets us. It helps us be a bigger part of the community, gets us out in the community, and gets more organizations talking about Potomac Local.
Yep. And I'm just going to ask a follow-up, because this may be a burning issue. Any ethical challenges with having partnership with nonprofits and your journalistic coverage?
We tell it like it is. We had we were working with one particular nonprofit, and they had an issue with the director, and we reported it just as we would any other time. So it's how any publisher runs their site. I'm not going to judge anybody how they run their site, but we tell the news like it is. And we still work with that nonprofit. That director's no longer there.
At some point, some politician, Rick O'Connor from Roosevelt, at some point, some local politician or business person or a powerful person in the community is not going to like what you write. He's going to ask you to take the post down. You may claim that you're defaming that particular person. I've had that twice. My particular advice is don't be intimidated by that claim. Make sure you have a very, very good attorney who's comfortable in media law and responding to those claims, and you'll be okay.
Hi, Scott Broadbeck, Arrow.com, Arlington, Bethesda Now.com, Bethesda, Maryland, Arlington, Virginia, I should say. I want to piggyback on what my friend Uriah said regarding events. Having that user-submitted event calendar is the godsend. No longer do we have to copy and paste events from emails, 5 to 10 times a day. Another thing I've done that solved the problem and provided an extra benefit we're deluged with emails of people wanting us to provide coverage of their event, write about their event. And at some point I got tired of saying no. But I figured out one thing we can do was we can provide a feature. It's something called a featured event, where you pay a little bit of money, nothing something affordable, and we you get an extra photo and something on the event calendar, and then we also feature your event in a weekly events post. And so that's providing extra revenue and also providing something for us to say when someone says, "Can you cover our event?"
Is that labeled as promotional or advertising?
Yeah, there's a little asterisk and marked. We charge $25 to $40 depending on whether they're nonprofit or for-profit.
Howard Owens from the Batavian. My advice today is, I've been looking a lot at our traffic numbers recently, and so my advice is break news. The vast feedback we get about why people appreciate what we do is we're right on top of what's going on in the community. We do a lot of stuff on the scanner. I'm out and about a lot, taking pictures, whatever. We're always trying to be ahead of our competition, and invite any of you to go to Quantcast and look at the Batavian's audience, and then hit the compare button and compare it with the Daily News Online, and it's thedailynewsonline.com, and keep in mind they cover 3 counties, we cover 1, and as you'll see, we're crushing them. I recently did a study of our traffic compared to newspaper sites in similar sized markets, and our traffic is 4, 5, 6 times larger than a typical newspaper in our size market. So, breaking news has really, over the 5 years, has built up our brand where we're now dominating the market that we're in, and that has helped us sell a lot more advertising.
I had some advice picking up on that. Ruffin Prevost from Yellowstone Gate. I cover Yellowstone and Grand Teton parks. I live in Cody, Wyoming, and then also the surrounding gateway towns. And the idea from Repost to write 25 headlines is one that I know Huffington Post does A/B testing on their headlines. They'll try different headlines out and check their metrics and see which one works better. And I've done a little of that. It's a pain, but it's helpful to learn what your readers respond to, and everybody here has. It's easy to go in and check your metrics. You forget to do it, but along those lines, I've done some work with search engine optimization, which sounds like a lot of snake oil and voodoo, and a lot of it is wasted time and effort, but I would encourage everyone to pay attention to how search engines find and look at and index your site and display results. One of the pages that I have that delivers traffic regularly is called "Where is Yellowstone Park?" And it's a search keyword that I just was looking through. What are people looking for when they search for Yellowstone? And that's one of the top words, so I wrote a ridiculous article about where's Yellowstone Park, but it has useful information about the airports and the approach roads and how to find the park from different communities, and it repeats the phrase, "Where is Yellowstone Park?" 906 times, but it brings a lot of traffic, and there's other basic information pages that I've created and also set up for search engines, but also for people. And the more of those pages you do, the more that traffic builds over time, and if you do a few of them every week, after a while, it's a traffic gold mine.
2 words, property transfers. I don't know if any of y'all do them, but you get them from your county property assessor's office. We run them weekly, and I don't care how many great stories we have, property transfers, everybody wants to know how much the next door neighbor sold their house for, and also our crime report. We get a weekly crime report from our police department, and I can spend 400 hours on a story and get 200 readers, and that property transfers will have 2,000 every week.
And do you rewrite those, or do you just copy and paste? What's the?
No, we pay somebody just to type them in.
Yeah.
Because we get them on paper.
Most important part is sell a sponsorship for that. Realtors will fight over sponsoring property transfers. I mean, we've had the same sponsor for going on 2 years, and everywhere we go, every presentation I do in front of a group of realtors says, how do I get that? And I said, he's locked it in for 3 years. So, sell it, go high, I sold it too cheap.
So to build on that, a lot of times these transfers are available digitally. Anybody can go and find them on your county office, but people just don't think to do that. Just copy and paste
They're
it.
not, in our county, they're not.
Obviously, you know, but in some of the more advanced counties.
We are in Tennessee.
Also, another alternative to the property transfers that are available in your local clerk's office is to talk to the realtors about getting them from the local listing service. We actually get ours from the listing service, and they come with a full description of the property and a photograph, and that's very popular as well. We haven't sold the sponsorship, I'm going to do that.
Hi, I'm James Stewart with Detail Block. It's a news source for business startups in Charlotte, right near Cornelius. We started earlier this year, and the hardest thing for us was figuring out what we wanted to prioritize. So we just did everything as much as possible, and we struggled a lot, continuously, every day. So what we did was we figured out what our top 3 things that we wanted to focus on, and we just focused on those things. And everything else is still there, it's gonna be there. It's gonna keep having needs that we're gonna have to do, but we don't worry about it. We split our duties into 1 or 2 things that we each would do, and then every month we focus on one thing. And it's helped us a lot in the last 3 months, in which we have grown a lot, our revenue has grown a lot, and we figure out what doesn't work and what works well. Everything needs time to grow. Relationships, like skills, everything. So just choose 1 or 2 things each month and focus on it. And like, you're probably thinking, well, what about content? What about sales and all that stuff? Well, we have one person usually focus on most of the content, and one person focus most on the sales, and then do 1 more task each month. And that's helped us organize our stuff, remove stuff, figure out our long-term goals, and everything. So focus.
Here's an example of one of the tasks that you assigned for that month.
So one thing was a redesign. So we redesigned our whole website. It took us a month, but we got all the details that we wanted in there. We figured out all the plugins. We talked with local experts. We searched around. It's just like, instead of spreading out and having something available all over time and then having to pull that all back together, we did that all together. Another tool is our productivity tool. So like, we tried in 1 month a lot of different task management tools and stuff, and we chose our favorite, which is Asana, and it works really well for us. We hate the app, but we love, it works really well for us. And it just took us time of focusing, hey, this month, while we're gonna, set our standard of this much content and this much sales goals, like, that's gonna happen every month. But we're gonna focus additionally on, like, getting our task management systems set up.
Tell me about the series.
Oh yeah, so like, one of the, do this.
So we got 1 great lesson, prioritize.
Oh, sorry.
I'm gonna give you 2 lessons. No, it's okay, I'm gonna give you 2. That's 1 great lesson, prioritize and organize, and don't try to do everything. So that's lesson number 1. What goes the second?
Yeah, the second one, Janice was, talked to Janice yesterday. Yeah, so we cannot compete with our business journal, which in Charlotte is a big metro. They have the DNC going. That's anything we're known for. So they are posting every day, multiple times a day. And like, we can't compete against that. And they have the Charlotte Observer, which is a 100-plus-year-old newspaper, and they post every day about business, about civic news and everything. So we couldn't compete against that. So what we do is we only focus on things that they are not going to do, and that's getting really detailed about a topic. So we have a series in which people sponsor about that series, and that's where a lot of our revenue has come from. We do have display ads, and that works well for getting people who want to do that, but sponsoring 8 posts for a month, and they don't have, it's like a topic, so they sponsor a topic. The recent one we did was about a college incubator and for entrepreneurs, and that attracted the same amount of people all, like, they just came back. It's like a column, but it's only for a month.
You do a series of stories, and you have one sponsor that sponsors that series.
Yep, and
So less than itself, one sponsorship for a series that's coming up in our goal.
yep, that's it.
What kind of customers are interested in something like that?
Everyone who can't pay for the daily advertisements of the big news. So like the newspapers, they like have it by CPMs, so impressions and stuff. That comes out to thousands of dollars, and we price it below that. So we price it for $4,000 a month, which comes out to be a full-time journalist. And that is everyone below that pays for that. We're getting a lot of talks from small businesses who want that attention.
Okay, we're ready to wrap up here. A few housekeeping items, no food in this room or the breakout rooms. We have plenty of seating in the lounge, and there's overflow seating on the other side of our vendors. And make sure you stop by and say hi to the vendors who have made this conference possible. If you've signed up for one-on-one coaching with this afternoon, there's a table next to the pointer table, so it's the very last vendor table. They'll be there, and then, okay, we'll be back here at 10:30. We have some new food out there, some pecan rolls and danishes, and we'll collect your cards on the way out, so vote for your favorite idea. I figured you should remember who it was, what it was, and it should really stand out. And then we will announce the winner when we come back.
Great. So another thing about this session is even if you should be keeping track of a couple of things that you want to follow up with somebody about. So if you like that idea of sponsoring a series, follow up, find some time in the next couple of days. So part of this whole session is to enable you to make some connections with people that you want to talk with. So in addition to voting for your favorite, think about other things you want to follow up. Great.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. This has been great.